Good afternoon again. My name is Walter Goodfield. I'm the VP of Sales here at RKL. And today we're going to talk about why customers are migrating to Sage X3. Joining me on today's panel is Russ Griffith, the VP of our Sage 500 practice, and Tom Heinricher, who's our pre-sales and solution expert for Sage X3. Today's agenda is really going to reset the messaging from Sage about Visual Basic 6 and Sage 500. We're also going to look at the business reasons why customers are replacing Sage 500. We're going to go through 3 or 4 screens introducing you to the user interface and experience of Sage X3. And then finally we'll wrap up with some upcoming events and questions and answers. I want to assure everybody on this call that the purpose of today is of education and awareness. We realize that some customers are replacing Sage 500, and we obviously hope to retain them within our family of solutions as well as the Sage portfolio. Today is not a commercial for Sage X3, I assure you. Hopefully it'll be educational and you'll take some things away though. Again, I promised that today we're going to focus on the business reasons why customers replace Sage 500, and one of the options is to migrate to Sage X3. It's not our intention to recommend or endorse that anybody replace Sage 500 without careful analysis and, again, business reasons to do so. Some of the business reasons that customers are looking at Sage X3, though, are number one, the deployment and the technology, the licensing and user roles and flexibility within Sage X3. It could be international expansion outside of North America. It might be the organizational growth, what we refer to as the multis and the intercompany transactions. You might be experiencing complexity or require more complexity within distribution and manufacturing depth. Perhaps you're managing too many add-ons to complete the solution for your business today. And then obviously the workforce demands have changed. With technology, there are new tools and new applications available today that just didn't exist when Sage 500 was developed. Again, I want to make sure that customers understand that today is about education. Sage and RKL are committed to Sage 500. In fact, RKL is the largest support organization for Sage 500, period. We're committed to the product through Russ and his team and through our own continued training and education. But we do realize, and Sage realizes, that customers are replacing Sage 500. It is an older product. It's been out on the market now for 18 years. And it was developed in a third-generation event-generated programming language known as VB6, Visual Basic 6. So let's talk about Sage 500 and VB6. Sage is in a difficult position when it comes to the messaging around Visual Basic and VB6 because it's not their product. VB6 is a Microsoft product, and again, Sage 500 was coded using that language. So Sage's commitment to the product really hinges on what Microsoft intends to do with VB6. And several times over the last 4 years, Microsoft's commitment has changed. Sage now knows, though, that Microsoft is committed to supporting VB6 in an initiative that it calls It Just Works. And the It Just Works commitment from Microsoft is that they will continue to support VB6 on current supported versions of Windows, but there's an asterisk there, and it's that it's limited to critical security issues. The fact remains that Microsoft relies on VB6 in many of its applications today, including Office and Outlook. But what Microsoft is saying is that they're going to support VB6 on current versions plus 5 years into the future. So with that, Sage has comfort that they can continue to support Sage 500 to their customer bases. Hence, at Sage Summit last year in New Orleans, Stephen Kelly addressed this in front of thousands of customers, the press, and the media with a quote that there will be no forced migrations at Sage. We do, again, Sage and RKL realize that customers are replacing products. They're staying current on technology. So we want to educate you on what those options are. But the tune has changed quite considerably in that there's no need to replace Sage 500 based on the technology anymore. If you are considering replacing it, we want to educate you on what are some of the business reasons to look for. So let's go ahead and transition to those business reasons. First, acknowledging that Sage 500, many of you today represent a lot of different organizational structures, different companies across different industries. So today we're going to focus on some of the very high-level features and capabilities. Subsequent webinars and activities will focus on more of the industry specialization behind X3 and behind these products. With the technology, some of the points that we will hope to make today are that Sage X3 is simple to use, simple to set up, and simple to install. What makes it simple is its architecture and that there's no desktop client. By delivering a web browser user interface, it really reduces the footprint and the constraints that are put on maintaining these applications for multiple users in a complex organization. Sage X3 has a different advantage too in that it's versatile to deploy. The same application can be delivered as an on-premises solution. The same solution is deployed in the cloud via a subscription service hosted by Amazon Web Services, or you can purchase Sage X3 and locally host it through an independent provider or data center. Again, joining me is Tom Heinricher, and at this point I'm going to ask Tom to elaborate on some of the technology features and depth within Sage X3.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Walt. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning if you're on the West Coast there. X3 itself is an interesting ERP solution, and from the very beginning, X3 was designed to be an application development tool set. You'll see acronyms like IDE, Integrated Development Environment. There were a lot of investments put into X3 originally at the very basic level to ensure that X3 could stay independent of other solutions. So from a development language perspective, you'll find that, and a lot of people will say, well, X3 has a proprietary language. Well, yes, it does, and that's the IDE, if you will. And in essence, it's an object-based type of technology. It's all visual. It's a 4GL, fourth generation language code generation tool. So in fact, unless you really want to go down into the code, which you can, there's no need to, because the objects will permit the code to be generated automatically for you. And that means everything from the fields to the screens to the reports to the inquiries, just about everything that is part of X3 is developed from the tool set, which in essence is X3. In addition to that, you'll find that X3 itself, from an integration perspective, makes it so that there's no additional investment required for that. And one of the key benefits, for example, is when you are creating new things within X3, you don't necessarily have to go over to the database and create something in the database as well. And in fact, X3 will create the database structure for you automatically from within the solution. From a architectural perspective, X3 it's a modern solution. You know, the company opted to simplify how a relational database begins to work with the end user. And most people know what relational databases were designed for. It was designed for the whole client-server technology movement some 10 or 15 years ago. And in fact, maybe even longer than that. But in fact, today, X3 promotes the ability to have no client involved at all on the user's interface, i.e. their PC, laptop, iPad, or what have you. So that makes it so that X3 can be deployed in a number of different environments without having to worry about the IT infrastructure, if you will, to gain access into the system. And in fact, it's really broken down into three pieces: the database server, the application server itself, and then the web server, which is designed to make it so that you can begin to reach out to many different extended parts of your universe. What do we mean when we talk about the extended parts of your universe? Well, X3 uses a tool called web services nowadays to help extend your product, and that's for two-way movement of data, by the way. It's all designed to make it so that if you have your web storefront or your web page or places where you want people to just interact with certain pieces of information, you can begin to provide those access points where information can be validated against the data structure in the application server within X3 and take advantage of the rules that you use to ensure the integrity of your data. That being said, it might be best to talk about how X3 promotes licensing. Go ahead, Walt.
We like to refer to this next slide as the Everything Bagel slide. What makes Sage X3 different from Sage 500 is that the system is delivered and sold based on the user profile. So a standard user gets all of this functionality less the optional red highlighted text. So when you buy Sage X3, you're getting the accounting, the finance, all of the distribution capabilities from sales, inventory management, purchasing, customer service, including the CRM, the manufacturing capabilities, and the ability to deploy Sage X3 in a global environment for multiple languages and multiple legislations. Very different structure. It's broken out by different user types, and these users are simplified and flexible and designed to be representative of how people are going to interact and use Sage X3. For example, a developer and full user has full access to the suite, obviously with security permissions and roles and profiles defined, versus an operational user who's restricted to the distribution operations within the company, the sales, the purchasing, and customer service inquiries. There's another level for employee self-service. So employees that are just doing purchase requisitions, expense entry, or inquiries. And then finally, an even lighter user for those RF terminals, handheld devices for automated data collection on the shop floor. So that's your inventory moves, your picks, receipts, and manufacturing transactions. So the user licensing and the modules is designed to be simple. Simple to use, simple to define, and simple to maintain. And behind each of these users are badges which control the user roles, groups, and security permissions. Moving on to the international expansion, it's important to note that Sage 500 was developed with North America in mind. It is a North America solution for US and Canadian GAAP with very limited international capabilities. Sure, it has multi-currency, but if you choose to deploy Sage 500 outside North America, you're doing so in English-speaking countries and according to the US GAAP. Sage X3 is, again, a global solution. We like to refer to it as the local touch with global reach. The local touch being your partners, like RKL, in certain countries and geographies. Supported by, in green, the Sage North America Sage Global operating entities. Sage X3 is currently available in 23 legislations. Those are the accounting rules, financial reporting and tax compliance, as well as 9 languages and over 7,000 installations worldwide. Let's go ahead and now talk about the organizational complexity, which we like to refer to as the multi or inter-company transactions. And again, I'm going to hand off to Tom to elaborate on that functionality specific to Sage X3.
Absolutely. Thank you, Will. The multi-company and multi-site functionality that is delivered with X3 was designed to promote complete integration of your enterprises within one data structure. Now, is that required necessarily for reporting? No. But X3 went through great pains to develop a structure, a database structure within the system that is comprised of a grouping environment which promotes multiple legal companies, financial sites or divisions, as well as business units and warehouses that can be deployed. Now, the flexibility that was intended in this environment was so that where companies have to have, for example, a Canadian division and a U.S. division for a simplified visual, you can simply have 2 legal companies where you can consolidate those for reporting purposes in different currencies. To expand that further, as you move into the European environment, the Middle Eastern environment, as well as the Pacific Rim, it's now more important that we can accompany legislative requirements. And more so than that, the world is comprised of both a GAAP environment as well as an IFRS environment. So therefore, because of these accounting reporting standards, it's important to have the ability to have one solution that can provide 2 reporting or simultaneous reporting styles to accommodate those legislative requirements. X3 does all of that for you. It helps manage things like, intercompany transactions. Let's talk about intercompany transactions. Probably one of the most complex areas from a financial, yet alone an operational perspective to control for any system. And the fact that you can do this in one database environment with X3 saves time and it reduces errors. I mean, it's a key phrase to remember here. But to be able to work with your divisions or the other companies that you have deployed in the same manner that you would work with them as if you were suppliers and customers to each other helps simplify things. It helps simplify the intercompany receivables and payables, as well as the ability to net out any value-added pricing and cost structures that could accommodate both of those environments.
Good. Thanks, Tom. And again, this is something that is capable within Sage 500, but requires multiple purchase orders and sales orders to accommodate that singular intercompany transaction in X3. Good. So let's go ahead and shift gears to the distribution now. Here within the distribution, you're going to find everything that you need to manage your sales team to maximize opportunities and automate administrative tasks, from complete purchasing control, generating purchase orders and receipts to invoices, also giving you visibility of your inventory to ensure compliance and customer regulatory mandates, maintaining operating margins and visibility of costs through real-time analysis, complexity and pricing strategies. As Tom just spoke of, your multiple intercompany units, transactions from one data structure, and then bringing that all together in a CRM that's delivered out of the box with Sage X3. again, I'm going to transition to Tom. He's going to talk about and familiarize us with, 2 or 3 of the functions within Sage X3 that are unique.
Absolutely. One of the key functional areas in X3 revolves around sales management, and as most of us know, perhaps the most influential and powerful part of an ERP system, not downplaying that which happens in operations and inventory management, but it's really the sales management side. That's where the folks that are on the phone with the customers have to be able to access real-time information to be able to work with the customers. In other words, to improve the customer service level that they can provide to folks that are outside your 4 walls. So with that, X3 has a number of different real-time touch features and telling features to make it so that you, as a user, your experience makes it so that you have complete access to history, contacts for within a company, phone numbers, pricing models, as well as the ability to help manage complex contractual relationships, quotations, and even begin to deploy functionality around after sales and service to help support that part of your company as well. Why is that beneficial? It's beneficial to companies that are concerned about warranty management and how that relates back to a higher level of customer service and turnaround and control of their quality products in the field. A couple of other areas that we want to kind of point out from a functionality perspective, more importantly, around inventory management. An integrated modern solution, real-time integrated solution like X3, offers a number of different tools internally. Now we're beginning to talk about supply chain management and deploying touch points across your resources that can span both internal and external areas in your supply chain. But internally, it begins to highlight the things that we are concerned about most. Quick and responsive movement of transactions, accurate transactions within the system to ensure that your perpetual inventory system, if it is deployed, becomes 99.9% accurate all of the time, making it so that the deployment or the capturing of transactions can be pushed out into the usage with the usage of RF data collection devices. We refer to that as ADC, automated data collection. Those types of tools now ensure a few things, and most importantly, it increases the speed for gathering data, it increases the accuracy and the retention and the productivity and the efficiency of the employees that are responsible for inventory control and management. And let's not forget, most importantly, quality management. From an inventory perspective, having the ability to begin to record results from a receipt and inspection type of environment with sampling, as well as through an in-process type of testing, which is very critical for companies. And by the way, all operational environments have a process, if you will, whether it's discrete or true process is questionable, but it's always a process. And at the same time, having the ability to begin to record results against lots so that you can accurately go back and find information about that controlled manufacturing or inventory environment is quintessential to an excellent ERP solution. When we begin to deploy X3, we ask a lot of questions. One of those questions revolves around how you move your inventory. What is your supply chain? And a little bit later on, we're going to talk a little bit about subcontract management, how you work with the contract manufacturers that may be becoming more of a reality for how you manage your business, not necessarily manufacturing things internally, but externally, and how you communicate with them. We'll talk about that later on as well. But when we talk about logistics, it's all about how we begin to touch and prepare the inventory, how we begin to stage things for shipments, how do we utilize multiple warehousing environments, how do we move into flow bin replenishment environments, and at the same time ensure inventory accuracy for how we move product through the different touch points before it goes onto the truck and then out the door. And at the same time, for companies that command more information from a landed cost perspective, X3 has the ability to expand the logistical side of its functionality so that we can begin to now monitor vessels and containers and be able to manage all of those landed costs that are associated with those touch points from, say, for example, Shanghai to Los Angeles or over here to Philadelphia and every point in between. Purchasing and procurement itself provides what's referred to as end-to-end purchasing oversight. When we talk about purchasing in X3, it's really part of the integration. It's really about taking the information that you need for vendors and deciding who your primary vendors are, who your qualified vendors are, associating them with specific products, as well as being able to manage purchase order contracts and even get involved with the budgeting side of your business. Well, when we talk about budgeting from a pure financial perspective, it's all about making it so that the touch points that are happening with the people that are spending the money are now authorized through workflows and approvals for budgetary control. All of those items are designed to help the folks that work in the inventory management as well as the procurement area of your business begin to focus on the key factors that they're charged with.
Good.
Well,
great. Thanks, Tom. Another area of functional depth within Sage X3 is solutions specifically for process manufacturing. As many of you know, if you need this requirement in Sage 500 today, it either requires an add-on through a third-party solution provider, or you've had to adapt your processes to fit a discrete environment. So the process manufacturing within Sage X3 was developed and designed specifically for chemicals, food and beverage, pharma, nutraceuticals, life sciences. It has everything from forward and reverse traceability to supporting the process-based manufacturing functionality of formulas, recipes, batch production, and lot control. And it includes all of the quality control, the formula management, and the compliance and regulatory requirements for those specific industries. Again, Tom's going to introduce three of the more critical components for process manufacturing, including the formula recipe, the traceability, and the compliance requirements.
Formula and recipe management is quintessential for any process manufacturing environment. And in fact, X3 provides a feature referred to as a product structure. And it's the screen that you see in front of you. And it enables companies that are concerned about things like HACCP, if you will, 21 CFR Part 11 from a security perspective. But HACCP really talks about critical control points and being able to relate specific instructions with how to handle materials with the equipment and the employees as it moves through the manufacturing environment. So X3 itself has the unique ability to associate materials or ingredients, with, if you will, to the various different operations that are designed for the manufacturing environment. Now, it also gives us the ability to manage complex units of measure. When we talk about complexity with regards to units of measure, it means complexities that involve things like mass to volume or volume to mass conversions that can associate things with density and specific gravity. For companies that have those complex unit of measure requirements, it's good to know that those features can then be transferred onto the recipe or the formulation to accommodate changes from how you stock a product to how you manufacture it through a process. In addition to that, and because of the product structure, X3 has put quite a bit of functionality into something that we refer to as traceability. Traceability rules are associated with lot control. Lot, sublot, serial numbers, and a combination thereof are features that are inherent and they can be associated with each individual product. And it also makes it so that from a traceability perspective, you can deploy both forward and backward tracing so that you can find not only what a product went into, but where that product is within the process. So, for example, if you have raw materials that are contaminated, you might need to not only find out if they've gone into the field, but more importantly, can you find out if there's anything in-house that you can pull off the shelf, as well as anything in process that you can stop. All of those features are then made available within X3 to manage things like FIFO, first expired, first out, for expiration management, and use by date controls. A couple of other things related to this, regulatory compliance perspective in X3, it's important to know that the FDA is everywhere, and especially when it comes to process manufacturing companies, and more specifically, the food and the pharmaceutical environments. So little things like FSMA acronyms, Food Safety Modernization Act, that's recent. How does X3 begin to help support that environment? Some of the more complex issues that revolve around HACCP, critical control point management, if you will, deployed in specific levels of functionality, and then even something a little bit more specific, something called 21 CFR Part 11, which relates to security within the system and how people can begin to work within an electronic environment to ensure that everything is accurate and controlled and there is a minimal chance of records being damaged. Okay. Well.
Great. Thanks, Tom. So let's go ahead and transition to the discrete manufacturing capabilities of Sage X3. The discrete managing is really just set up to help you with your bill of material management, improve product quality, productivity, and collaboration. It includes extensive product costing, analyzation tools, as well as multiple buckets for recording the actual costs of the manufacturing throughout your process. Manufacturing has depth in MRP and your advanced planning and scheduling tools to help you manage multiple locations, multiple sites, and the demand across multiple facilities. Leveraging the traceability components that Tom talked about in the process manufacturing, you'll still have the lot and serial traceability, as well as some new capabilities like subcontract management and MPM, which we'll discuss now. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Bob. Well, from a discrete manufacturing perspective, and most people know that discrete means you can take something apart and then put it back together again. Whereas in the process environment, it's very difficult once you blend something together to separate the two. Well, the discrete environment is unique for any number of different reasons, whether they're medical devices or in this case we're building a bicycle or assembling a ship. It doesn't really matter. It just means that from X3's perspective, classic bill of material functionality, including things like change management and version control and managing various different work centers, work and cost centers, and dimensional associations for accumulating labor and resources, and factory calendars, and all of those unique things that we look at to help companies manage productivity and efficiency in the manufacturing environment. Okay, so what are some of those environments that we often look at? So if we talk about, planning, for example, or I should say from a manufacturing mode, we've got the available to order, the ATO, make to order, MTO, capable to order, make to stock, configure to order. Configure to order is a unique feature in X3 as well. So for companies that live in a highly configurable environment where rules are required in a decision-making tree, X3 provides that as well as basic features and options for companies that just want to get into simplified kits with basic things that involve components to match up against each other to get things pulled together and shipped out the back door. All of those things make it so that X3 provides a flexible manufacturing environment. It provides a series of workbenches so that from an MRP or an MPS, Master Production Scheduling, or that's MRP2, if you will, it makes it so that companies can begin to work with replenishment environments or resupply environments that can be directly associated with a lot-for-lot relationship to demand. And demand can be from any number of different resources or sources within the system, everything from sales delivery contracts to orders to forecasts and other replenishment requirements. In addition to this, there's one extra feature in X3 that relates to subcontracting management, amongst others, by the way. But as a highlight, A tool that X3 provided a few versions back, was designed to help manage the relationships with contract manufacturers. Well, this could be just a simple subcontract operation that is linked to a work order, for example, or it could be something that is purely driven in your supply chain where you need to procure materials to send to a company so that they can do their operation, and then they can forward that on to another company so that they can do an additional operation, and it moves around the supply chain, and at the same time you maintain complete visibility of that and control of the cost associated with the value-add processes that they add to your products so that your inventory is properly valued, and the folks on the accounting side are then seeing the invoices and matching those up against the appropriate cost from a vouchering perspective. All these items are designed to make it so that the individuals within your organization that are challenged with these complex functional areas now have a set of tools to help simplify and control their life.
Thanks, Bob. Let's go ahead and take a look at, real quickly, I'm going to just breeze through the next 3 or 4 slides. Again, number 7 was to reduce the number of add-ons within the Sage 500 footprint. So we're going to take a look at some very common add-ons in manufacturing environments, especially, that X3 delivers out of the box. The first is the product costing. This is typically an add-on in the Sage 500 world from E2B, who is a Sage 500 partner and developer. Within Sage X3, some of the depth that's delivered out of the box is the ability to have multiple cost revisions, multiple cost buckets, and more importantly, planning for future periods. Another new capability within Sage X3 is change control management. This is known as engineering change orders in Sage 500. Sage X3 delivers some greater depth in this area through just in the organization of the actual module, as well as routing the workflow notification and rules for approval. One nice feature about the CCM module in Sage X3 is the ability to have major and minor revisions with effectivity dates. And then, more importantly, the ability to monitor and see what records are impacted, not just items in manufacturing transactions, but also your distribution activities, so that you can manage those changes ahead of time and plan for the new versions. Planning and scheduling is another popular add-on in the Sage 500 space, delivered by Plan It Together. Some features within X3 are that it's a comprehensive and integrated solution with your MRP and your master production schedule. Similar to Sage 500, it's a graphical interface with finite and infinite capacity. But again, what's different and what's more important about Sage X3 is the specific communication that happens among the modules that affect and interact with your inventory transactions. And then finally, quality management. Another module that's an add-on through the Sage environment, through some various partners, in fact, but have very little depth when it comes to managing and tracking not only the values and variables, but proactively managing those testing and QC procedures and the ability to tie them to multiple transactions and various touch points throughout your supply chain. And then finally, I'm going to ask Tom to talk about a new feature that doesn't exist, and that's the MPM, Manufacturing Project Management.
Yeah, MPM in X3 was designed to capture true manufacturing project management. And in fact, it was designed to help identify activities within projects where you need to establish budgetary constraints. It was designed to make it so that there were dashboard activities to measure the timeliness of the projects as they move through everything from budgetary approval, document design and engineering reviews, as well as through the manufacturing, the procurement, and the deployment part of a project, as well as simple steps such as if you need to deploy field service technicians to go out and assemble products in the field. And in essence, all of that is part of X3, so the fact that it's an integral part of the product is one less piece of software that you have to worry about managing.
Thank you, Tom. Number 8, new tools for your workforce. Admittedly, technology has changed a lot over the last 10 years, and how companies and users consume technology has changed, whether they're using smartphones or devices or apps to interact in their daily life. Again, Sage X3 is it's a native web-based solution that's delivered via multiple browsers on multiple devices. It's browser agnostic, being delivered on Edge, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Safari, on any device through the mobility capabilities. So again, giving the power to the users to consume the data in the format that they want to. Sage X3 can actually be run on an iPhone through the Safari browser, but there are also apps that are delivered with the product that are formatted to fit the screen a little bit better for daily consumption, like looking up order balances or inventory items, or even managing my customers when I'm preparing for an on-site visit. Personal dashboards are delivered with Sage X3 also. These dashboards are event and user driven so that you can personalize how you consume information from X3. The power of any product, whether it's Sage 500 or Sage X3, isn't the data that you put in, it's the value that you get out of your transactional data and helping you use that data to make better business decisions. So these personal dashboards are customizable and allow you to get the access to the information that you want, that you need in real time. As we transition to automated workflow and notification management, I'm going to ask Tom to explain this in a little bit better detail when it comes to Sage X3, what's delivered and how that functions.
Absolutely. There are primarily two functional areas within X3 that are designed for the end user or the super user. Those are rules that govern the flow of information or steps. In other words, you go from a sales order to allocation to delivery on to invoicing. And at the same time, those types of events can then post various different rules that react to how data is entered. In other words, if somebody enters a sales order with a line item that exceeds a certain value, it then can deploy messages that can pop up on the screens to instruct the user on what they need to do next to get past that objection. At the same time, X3 provides methods to construct event-based triggers. Now, this could be anything from a data entry change to something that is associated with a signature. For example, they could say, hey, listen, anytime, and another example might be, for example, if a certain customer is added and you're a sales rep and you want to know when there's a new customer in your territory, a trigger happens to send you notification of said information. The key thing to remember is the tool resides within X3, and it's very easy in an object-based environment to create new rules and new triggers to help control your manufacturing or distribution environment.
Great, Tom. And then finally wrapping up the usability of Sage X3, leveraging that same user profile and organization, we deliver these out-of-the-box, process-oriented workspaces, again, giving you critical information by function within the organization, as well as documented visual processes to complete a transaction. The visual process is a great tool for new companies implementing Sage X3 because it allows us to document your internal processes, and behind each of these stages, you can actually launch the application to complete the activity. These are personable and customizable and allow you to adapt Stage X3 to your business processes following your workflow rules. Hey, Tom, we've got maybe a couple of minutes. I'd like to transition over to you to show a couple Sage X3 screens. We've shown a lot of static PowerPoints now, but I'd like to hand the controls over to you. And if you can show us what that desktop looks like, the KPIs, the dashboards, and maybe what a customer screen looks like, and we can talk about how that user interface is different.
Absolutely. I hope everybody can see my screen. Does everybody see X3 there in front of you there, Walt?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, I can see it.
Fantastic. Great, great. Everybody, welcome to X3. And as we've alluded earlier, that the system, any tight integrated system with a modern technology offering like X3 is designed to do primarily two things: secure the inputs of information and promote the accuracy of outputs. And all of that resides within the X3 environment. I will share with you that we do work with other solutions. So if you're used to working with, say, Sage Enterprise Intelligence, there's no reason why you wouldn't continue to use some of the advanced data warehousing tools with X3 as well. But it's not necessarily required. And in fact, as you begin to look at X3, you'll see that there are a series of different tabs in your personal portals or your portal home pages or landing pages, as we refer to them, that immediately gives you access to interactive data that makes it so that the information you have can cover everything from statistical information through workflow tracking, if you will. For example, orders that you may or may not need to sign. And these go into the environments, and you can see quick examples of things like sales orders and quotes. And this could be purchase orders and purchase requisitions and just about anything else that you would tailor to a signature or approval type environment. More importantly, X3 promotes a new way to look at how information is managed, how your environment takes you through the process of saying, what do we do first, second, third, fourth, fifth? It visualizes your manufacturing or your business processes. So you can see here it says my manufacturing in X3, it follows the path of the CRM front end for contact and pipeline management, if you will, all the way through quotations, sales orders, through the MRP processes, if you will, and then off to the tangents of purchasing through receiving and out to accounts payable, manufacturing through tracking, through quality assurance, deliveries of the products to the customers, and then off to the treasury function that we find in accounts receivable. All of these features make it so that from X3's perspective, we can begin to do a couple of things. Whether we want to define specific areas of the business, like for example, if we're only concerned about supplier management and purchasing, maybe our process flow looks like this with interactions into specific screens. Or if we're concerned about, now, you know what, there are any number of different processes that we can begin to look at. And the key thing to remember is X3 delivers hundreds of these based on best business practices out of the box with the solution, but we also give you the tool so that you can use the visual drag and drop images. And by the way, they're all green dots here because of Sage Green. I would suggest you use your own corporate colors to enhance this a little bit if you're creative. And at the same time, as you begin to look at the various screens in X3, you'll begin to see what's referred to as the user ergonomics and the design of those screens. Now, the design of the screen itself is related to something that is referred to as a left to right progression. There are only 3 types of screens in X3, and that's controlled by the development tool set, the IDE, if you will. So in essence, it deploys a listing down the left-hand side, and in this case, all of the sales orders. If we were in the customer master file, it would deploy a listing of all of the customers, where then you could just select the various different items and then just go down the list until you find the information that you're looking for, or in fact, search for it in the headers. At the same time, the information that's deployed in front of you provides the entry screen area. Hitting these little areas expands those and resizes them. And remember that since this is deployed in an HTML or a browser-based environment, it now makes it so that the screens can resize automatically predicated on the type of environment that you're working in. So in essence, multiple tabs begin to deploy line levels of information. Line levels of information can also be extracted and sent out to Excel for reporting purposes, as well as any of the KPI or the statistical inquiries and graphics can be sent out to other Microsoft products and updated from there as well. Tabs begin to help the user begin to manage areas of the system that are related to processy areas. Like, for example, the delivery process in the flow or the invoicing process in the flow, monitoring things like transportation and routing and delivery environments. It's going to also begin to deploy information that's associated with documents that are associated with the screen that the user is working in. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, X3 walks them through all of those known areas that they can go off to and look at other information, as well as drill down to related information in other parts of the system. For example, Jump 2 will take me out to the customer master file. Within the customer master file, similar environment listing, but this is the controlled or a tailored tunnel, so it takes me only to the customer that I have in that field, but I could select other customers. And at the same time, information in the middle, and then things that I can do off on the right-hand side. And in this case, maybe looking at historical information that's associated with this specific customer that could be linked to quotes, orders, deliveries, invoices, returns, as well as specific accounting information to help you begin to manage risk in the treasury environment of your company. Well, all of those things are at your fingertips, and every one of those functions, if you will, pardon me there, every one of those functions gives you the ability to gain access to an extensive level of information that is designed to make it so that the user can make accurate decisions when working in their environment. As I end out of there, it takes me back to my process flow. And on that note, that's a quick glimpse of X3, and there's a lot more to share. But I'll transfer it over to Walt there.
Thank you, Tom. Great.
You bet.
So let's go ahead and wrap up. Why Sage X3? Again, the intent of today isn't for every Sage 500 customer to replace the product. What we're trying to do is educate and bring awareness of other options within the Sage portfolio and highlight on the business reasons that you might want to consider replacing Sage 500. So we focus today on the business reasons, but also some of the technology advantages of Sage X3, like the usability and ergonomics, the intelligence of the dashboards and the workflows, the ease of a mobile solution, anytime, anywhere, any device. And what we found is Sage conducted a study through IDG Research Group, and that research showed that mid-market companies that have improved their data accessibility, the quality of their data intelligence, and the usability of the information can expect a gain of at least 35% or more in incremental top-line revenue year over year. So Sage X3, staying current with the technology and providing new tools for how customers and consumers use that information. Finally, if you're interested, we have some upcoming events to continue the education about Sage X3. Some of our own events include an overview for food and beverage manufacturers, for discrete manufacturing environments. If you're an accounting operation, we're going to have a special overview for you in April, and then finally the distribution, again, to be scheduled in April. If you're a Sage user and you're current on your M&S plan, you have access to additional Sage X3 information via the Sage University portal. There you can get product information, knowledge-based information, as well as register for monthly Lunch and Learn series, which walk you through some more of the usability and capabilities of Sage X3. And finally, we invite you to join us at Sage Summit in Chicago in late July of 2016. We're going to go ahead and wrap up with some questions and answers. Several of you submitted questions throughout the session, so I'm going to do my best to address them here before people drop. One question we had was about the browsers that are supported. As we mentioned, Sage X3 is browser agnostic and device agnostic, so it does work with Explorer, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, even the new Microsoft Edge in the latest release. We had some questions about data warehousing, and this is a great question because any product within the Sage portfolio today has the ability to leverage Sage Enterprise Intelligence. Sage Enterprise Intelligence is a reporting and business insights utility that allows you not just to report on activities and transactions in your database, but it allows you to link to external databases as well, so that you can create a data warehouse within a Sage Enterprise Intelligence environment. Here we had a question about, is this an upgrade of Sage 500? No, in fact, Sage X3 is a different product. It's a separate solution with different capabilities. As you saw, a different user interface. The underlying technology is still Microsoft operating system and Microsoft SQL, but it is a different product. We had another question about data. Will my data migrate? Sage does deliver a data migration utility that does map master file data like accounts, customers, vendors, items, and open transactions, but it isn't exactly a plug-and-play utility. As you can expect, there are differences between the products, between the databases and the tables and elements, but the utility does provide a starting point for us to map your data and move it from one Sage product to another Sage product. And then finally, we had another question about Sage add-ons. So I'm going to expand this. Many of the Sage add-ons that you have today, like Sage Fixed Assets, Sage CRM, Sage Intelligence, Sage Enterprise Intelligence, even non-Sage products like Avalara, True Commerce for EDI, and SmartLink for shipping, these products do work with Sage 500 and Sage X3. So many of those products, your license will transfer, and obviously the only thing that we have to maintain are those new connections. But Sage X3 is delivered with those connectors, and in the event that we need to, there are additional web service connectors available to use to leverage those point-to-point integrations. Again, thank you for your time and attention today, and good luck. This concludes today's session.